Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday night edition of USA Hockey's Officiating Zoomcasts. Our topic this evening is NCAA Officiating, and my name is Scott Zelkin. I'll be your host this evening as we talk about the ins and outs of officiating college hockey. It's the first episode. This is our 20th episode overall that we've been doing on Tuesday nights. And this is going to be our first episode where we're really kind of stepping away from either USA Hockey specific topics or nuts and bolts of officiating topics. And we wanted to discuss and bring to you a panel of experts in one of the most exciting aspects of hockey and one of the highest and best levels we have here in the United States, and that's NCAA or college hockey. And as I said, my name is Scott Zelkin. I'll be your host and moderator. And joining us this evening are, like I said, three experts in the college hockey world: Jeff Fulton, Alicia Hanrahan, and Steve Piotrowski. And they're going to walk us through everything you ever might want to know about college hockey and how to get involved in all of that stuff. And I want to introduce you to each one of them. Alicia is arguably one of the most successful female officials in the history of USA Hockey. She's had an unbelievable career on the ice. In addition, and we'll get her to talk about her college hockey experience in a second, but she's been an official for over 20 years. She's worked USA Hockey National Championship. She's part of our instructor staff and one of our officiating coaches. And she's also had a distinguished career internationally, officiating Olympic Games, Winter Olympic Games, including the bronze medal game in 2014, multiple women's world championships. And Alicia, welcome this evening, and we're glad to have you. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience in the college hockey world?
Thank you, by the way, Scott, in USA Hockey. I have been officiating college hockey for about 15 seasons now, 9 as a linesman and 6 as a referee. I started off in Columbus, Ohio, working at the OSU program, and then made myself over here to Minnesota. I made the transition to referee, and it's 2 different aspects, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Jeff Fulton is going to cover, and Jeff Fulton has extensive experience, as an administrator at the college hockey level. He assigns multiple Division III college hockey conferences, both on the women's and men's side. He is also, as of September 1st this year, the incoming secretary editor of the rule book for the NCAA, so has direct involvement in the NCAA rules, how they're written, how they're interpreted, and things like that. And Jeff, I want to welcome you. He's also a longtime USA Hockey official, been involved forever, and welcome to the Zoomcast. And why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience and what I might not have covered, Jeff?
Sure. Thanks, Scott, first of all, for having me. I have been involved in officiating since I was 14 years old, so that's a very, very long time ago with USA Hockey. At 19, I began officiating college hockey. I lasted 25 years as a college hockey official, starting as a linesman and ending my career as a Division I referee. And from there, after my retirement, I was hired on as a coordinator of officials for 6 of the local Division III leagues, and our staff includes roughly 300 officials, and we assign for 40 men's teams and 40 women's teams currently. So I've also been fortunate enough to be part of the NCAA staff. So I've been the NCAA replay official for the Frozen Four for the last 13 years and the liaison for the Division III championships. And as of September 1st, I am taking over for Pi, as you mentioned, and Pi has held this position for 12 years. And I will tell you, there's some very big shoes to fill with Steve. He's one of all of our mentors and somebody we look up to. So I'm hoping to be able to fill a role half as well as Pi was able to fill it the last 12 years.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff, and welcome. And then our third panelist is another legendary college hockey official, administrator, and selfishly for me, a personal friend of way too many decades than either one of us want to talk about. Steve Piotrowski, or as we say, Pi is a longtime referee in the CCHA, as well as a longtime USA hockey official. He's experienced on the ice at the international level, as well as the minor professional level, and now for a handful of years has been an administrator both with the CCHA and with the Big Ten. And Pi, welcome. We're glad to have you. And, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your experience or what you're doing in the college hockey world right now?
Yeah, sure, Scott. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to come on and share some of my experiences and hopefully inspire some of you who are on the cast tonight. Scott, and thank you for all you're doing for USA Hockey. Tremendous in terms of development and creating opportunities, and it's just great to be on tonight. So, as far as just a little brief snippet about me, I started out as a very young official. I think I was 12. My mom dropped me off at the rink, and I would do a handful of mic games, and I continued to enjoy what I was doing. But as my playing career became a little bit more successful, I ended up playing Division I college hockey, and then after I left and graduated, I didn't want to play anymore. I knew I wasn't going to play anymore, but I missed the competitive side of hockey and didn't want to coach. Knew I wasn't going to play, and what better opportunity than to get involved in officiating. So I've been officiating for a long time at the levels that Scott mentioned. Most recently, administering the Big Ten Conference, officials assigning, oversight, development, training, recruiting. And I've worked very, very closely with Scott. Probably not high 90% of all my officials that I select to come into our program are a product of the USA Hockey program and Scott's endeavors that he puts forward with the ODP program. So it's great to be on. It's congratulations to all of you participants who are out there tonight that have taken time out of your busy schedules to join us here tonight. I hope we can provide you with some informative topics and help inspire you to whatever degree that you decide, whether it's getting involved in college hockey at some point in the future or whatever levels of hockey that you aspire to. So Scott, thanks again for all you're doing. Jeff and Alicia, great to see you both. And I look forward to participating here tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Pi. So as we do with all of our USA Hockey officiating casts on Tuesday night, we're going to start with a few questions to get a sense of who's out in the audience and kind of take it from there. So I'm going to launch a poll, and we'll give it a couple of minutes here. Let you all out in the audience kind of fill in some of the answers here. I enjoy college hockey for the following reasons, and then check all that apply: the rivalries, the atmosphere, watching some top talent. If you've got another reason, use the chat feature. And then if you're on here, but you don't follow college hockey, maybe we're going to be able to convince you to start following it, possibly get on the ice. Next one, in order to make the jump to working college hockey, my biggest challenge would be, and then we list a few different options, and then true or false, there are no playing rules exams in college hockey. And then true or false, I know who to contact regarding getting started with working college hockey. So we're going to give it about 30 more seconds as the results starting to roll in here. And then we'll share the answers. Okay, so let's end the polling. And I'm going to share the results for all of you out there. So I enjoy college hockey for the following reasons. And the good news is you all follow college hockey. So that's you're in the right place. You know what? In terms of school rivalries, the atmosphere, and watching the top developing talent play, they all had a lot of answers, which is true. I think that those are all really good reasons. There's nothing better than Minnesota, Wisconsin, or a great Wisconsin, Clarkson on the women's side are some of the great rivalries, and there's certainly some great arenas and great atmosphere. In order to make the jump to college hockey, my biggest challenge, most of you feel it's your proximity to schools. And so we can certainly talk about that. And then there are some that feel they need to improve their rule knowledge and their skating skills and some other things as well. Most of you believe that you do have to take a rules exam in college hockey. And since we have the two most recent people involved with the rule book and writing of the rule book, I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that. And then, a lot of you don't know who to contact in order to get involved with working college hockey. So, these are some things we're going to talk about tonight and hopefully answer for sure that fourth question, as well as then challenges in how, you can get involved. As we've always talked about here on these Zoomcasts, something to remind every one of you, we do have the question and answer feature at the bottom. The second half or the last part of this Zoomcast is a time to answer some questions. We've already got a couple of questions in the hopper here, which is good. So I would encourage all of you, if you have a question, type it on out. If we haven't answered it in the next half hour, type it out. And between Jeff and Steve and Alicia, I'm sure we'll be able to get those questions answered. So with that, let's talk a little bit here. Pi, at the Division I level, what's the landscape? How many teams are out there? How many officials are working throughout the country on an estimation basis? So talk to us a little bit about the Division I landscape, if you could.
Yeah, sure, Scott. So currently there are 61 Division I men's programs across the country. Most recently, the addition of Long Island University that's coming in for this inaugural season, and what a challenge that will be for them. But and so in that, of those 61 teams, there is one independent right now. Long Island University is kind of feeling its way. I know they're going to work a collective schedule with the Atlantic Conference, but Arizona State is an independent. They're hoping to get into some type of conference. They've had some success over the last few years, but they're still functioning as an independent. Again, hoping to get into a conference. So of those 61 programs, they're scattered across the country from east to west. As far west as Alaska, with Alaska Fairbanks and Alaska Anchorage, and as far east as probably Maine, Vermont, etc. So within that 61 core group, I should say, there are 6 Division I conferences. There are the Hockey East, the ECAC, the Atlantic Conference, the WCHA, the NCHC, and of course, the Big Ten Men's Conference. And again, within those programs, there aren't as many Division I women's programs, but there are a number of conferences that support Division I women's hockey, including the WCHA, including the Hockey East and ECAC, just to name a few. So the Division I landscape could be in a state of change. The WCHA men's conference is transitioning, and the old CCHA is reforming, interesting enough, for inaugural play or re-inaugural play come the 21-22 season. Again, Arizona State, as I mentioned to you, is trying to get into a conference, hoping to join a conference here soon. So there's lots of potential movement. There is uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen to Alabama's program and what's going to happen to the 2 Alaska programs. So there might be a little bit of movement. COVID, unfortunately, has really desiccated budgetary things for many of the universities across the country, but particularly some of them are harder hit than others. Now, all that said, there's hundreds of officials on the men's and women's side across the country, and there's some crossover in utilization of officials. As an example, I have officials that work for me that also work in the ECAC. that also work in the WCHA. So there's a really strong relationship between each of the coordinators or supervisors of officials in those conferences to share officials, to utilize them on maybe assignment weekends that they may not be utilized by the other conferences. There's also cross relationships that exist on the division side. You know, have worked very closely with Jeff as well, utilizing some of his officials in Division III. And when they're not working for him, you know, they create opportunities to work with me, and as long as they're keeping busy. So plenty of opportunities. And keep in mind as well that there's succession planning involved. So there's officials that have been doing college hockey for many years that may be in the twilight of their career. And so as someone overall responsible for recruiting and development, as all of our coordinators are across the country, we have to look to the future because no one's going to be around forever. So we have to continue to identify, we have to continue to source, recruit, look at ways that we can create opportunities and develop officials. So when they are ready to make that step from whether it's junior hockey into the college ranks, that there certainly is opportunities. And those are things that we continue to evaluate every year. Job changes occur, you know, family dynamics change where officials may no longer be available. Injuries occur, unfortunately, that may take officials out of the mix for consideration. So we always have to continue to look at the future, and the future starts with the grassroots level, continuing interest, and as officials become available, what we'll try to hopefully provide tonight is a path for you to become excited about college hockey opportunities and identify the path and journey that you need to take to hopefully qualify you better to be considered when those opportunities do present. So that's kind of a little nutshell. Scott, does that help? Anything you want me to expound on a little bit for you?
No, I think that's really helpful. And you know, so if we're talking about kind of the top level Division I college hockey, there's still hundreds of opportunities out there, and I think that's important for everybody in the audience to know. And you know, a good place they might be able to get going is with Jeff, or at the Division III level. So Jeff, talk to us a little bit about the Division III level, and both on the men's and women's side, and almost the same question. What's that landscape look like?
Yeah, so Scott, we're about 900 officials in NCAA Division III hockey. A lot of that, and I would say between 15 and 20%, also include some Division I officials that work both D1 and D3 for whether we be with Pi or Pete Fiola or those folks in Division I. We have 10 NCAA Division III men's leagues comprising roughly 85 institutions. They are spread out. You know, we're really heavily concentrated in the Northeast, but we've got Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, again, heavy concentration in the Northeast. And I will tell you, Pennsylvania area is blowing up with college hockey. So they're bringing on 2 to 3 new programs every year. Unfortunately, the farthest team in the South that we have at this point is Stevenson University, and they're down in the Washington, D.C. and Maryland area. We do have 9 Division III women's leagues comprising about 65 institutions currently. So we've got quite a bit of hockey, those same type of concentrations in Minnesota, Michigan, and in the East. So, you know, I think to Pi's point, a lot of us are all fishing out of the same pond. We've all had to work together, you know, to identify those officials, number one, that we can send to Division I, and we can kind of mentor along the way in Division III to get their feet wet in NCAA hockey. But we're, you know, our goal at this level is to bring in the officials, get them acclimated with NCAA hockey, and if they've got the skills, open doors to the Division I level for some opportunities there.
And are you seeing, you know, Steve talked about Arizona State and you know, some teams out in Alaska, and so, you know, on at the Division I level, we're to a certain extent coast to coast, and certainly teams in Colorado and things like that. Is there anything out west going on at the Division III level, or is kind of the Mississippi River about as far west as you're going to get, or Minnesota? in general.
Yeah, that's as far. There's really nothing past the Mississippi River, unfortunately, from a Division III standpoint. I'm hoping that will change with time. But right now, that's the makeup of Division III NCAA hockey.
Got it. And Alicia, so, you know, when we talk about that, and Stephen, both Stephen and Jeff have given a really good rundown of what the landscape looks like. Talk to me about, you know, your experience within this game in terms of, you know, yeah, there's teams, but where are you working? What conferences are you working? Are you working both at the Division III and the Division I level? Talk to us a little bit about your own personal experiences at those levels.
Yes, I am working Division I, WCHA League, and Division III. Out here, there's the MIAC and the WIAC. It's the Minnesota and the Wisconsin. On the women's side, of course, and then there's not so many women's for the WIAC. I believe there's maybe, don't quote me, 7 teams. And then on the MIAC, there's a few more. So I do kind of bounce around Minnesota and go over to Wisconsin. And then on the weekends, I could work a series for WCHA any given time.
Okay, and what, you know, when you think about Division I versus Division III, what's some of the biggest differences you're noticing when you're on the ice? Is it just purely skill? Is it quality of facilities? Talk to me about the differences that you might find as an official when you're kind of going between different levels.
Between Division I and Division III, there are going to be differences in facilities. You know, if I walk into definitely a high quality of facility. You know, school has money they put into it, where if I went over to Augsburg, they might be using the you know, college rink there, but it's also shared as for public skating or, you know, other uses. What else were you asking here?
Well, I guess the one other thing though that I would say, and my guess is, even though maybe a facility isn't quite as good, my suspicion is, regardless of level, whether it's Division I or Division III, when you're working, the players are going to care just as much and they're going to compete just as hard, right? So, I mean,
I'd say skill is a little higher in the Division I for sure. Strategy might be totally different. I do enjoy Division III because those girls go out there and they skate super hard for 35, 45 seconds. Not to say Division I doesn't, but you know, the coaches might be throwing in more strategy to, you know, certain face-offs, or there just seems to be more strategy in the Division I more than in the Division III. They're both playing super strong and with their heart, obviously, for their school. There is a bit of a jump from Division III to Division I in skill and in speed, but both are you know, very enjoyable for me.
yeah, and they're both intense at times.
Very intense, yes.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. So, you know, how'd you get involved in college hockey? How did you get that opportunity? And you know, what skills do you think I want, you know, I know you don't necessarily want to talk about yourself too much, but
No.
how did you get involved, and what do you think what skill did you bring to the table to get yourself that opportunity?
So I was living in Columbus, Ohio at the time, and I believe a good friend of mine I went to a regional USAH hockey regional camp with, and she was living in Michigan at the time, and I believe she was involved with out there, and she asked if she recognized that I'm capable of working that league or at that level, and then she invited me over to a CCHA camp, and that's actually when the Pi. You may not remember. That's okay.
I do.
So I went to a camp there and tried out, and I don't think anything came of it because of where time. And then about a year later, another friend of mine, fellow USA Hockey official, was already in the WCHA and reached out to me and asked if I was willing to join. And I wanted to. I challenged myself. She helped out by reaching out to the assigner for WCHA, as well as I did, to buy myself a ticket to come here to Minnesota and attend their meeting. Went through some sort of a skating drill and eventually got the call. But I reached out. A friend that I've known in hockey recognized that I was capable of working at possibly higher and wanted me to be a part of the league. And so I, reached out and challenged myself and started working that next season for WCHA.
I like that you said you challenged yourself. I think that's, I think that's a really important thing, that you were willing to challenge yourself, and you also had to take a little bit of initiative to maybe get that opportunity. Jeff, when you're looking to add new officials in your 17 different conferences that what are you looking for? For yourself, what are you looking for to, and you said we're all fishing in the same pond and all of that stuff, but at the same point in time, there is going to come a time when you're going to have to make a decision on whether or not to add an official to a league or to give them that opportunity. So what are you looking for?
So, I mean, the obvious one, Scott, was, we're going to look at skating ability, fitness level, work ethic, how that official looks on the ice and how hard they work has a lot to do with it, as well as appearance. And, I think as you walk in and you're doing recruiting, that you kind of pick up on that pretty quickly. Another key element to what I'm looking for at my level is at Division III, we do not have video replay. In Division I, they do have video replay. So one of the most important parts of my crew and what we work with on a yearly basis is positioning and getting yourself in a good sight line and a good position. Referees at the net, we know there's times that they can't get there, but we're looking for that initial movement to the net and the linesman being in position. I'm dealing with 50 or 60 coaches, and I can tell you, when I get a video on a Saturday morning, it's very easy to defend a call when the official's in position to make the call, but when they're out of position, it's very, very difficult. So, our number one goal is to call a goal, and we need to make sure from a positioning standpoint that we're getting there and we're following good rules of and habits going forward. So we really try to drill that in there. And I think the other one is good judgment and consistency. So knowing when to get involved, when not to get involved. When the game's on the edge and emotions are running high and tempers are flaring, a good hockey official will read that game and they'll call what needs to be called depending on the current situation of the game. So really, game management and being able to manage it at a collegiate level is all very important aspects to what I'm looking for from a recruiting standpoint.
You know what, that no real shock there. And Pi, I'm going to ask you the same question. So now, Big Ten, major conference, top level, one of the top conferences in the country, Division I level. What are you looking for officials when you're going to bring them on board?
Well, I probably echo what Jeff is saying as well. Skating is probably, forefront for me, because if you can't skate, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to keep up with the speed of play at the Division I level. And so skating is real important to me, stands out for me as a top area. What I am noticing more and more, and I commented to you, I believe, when we talked a few months ago with the ODP group, is how fit people are right now. And they understand the importance of their fitness level as it relates to being an official. And so fitness level, Jeff mentioned that as well. Fitness level is important to me. Deportment and how you carry yourself on the ice with your crew. One of the things that I always say to officials in groups that I speak to are there three principal things that make up a great official for me. And those are very noticeable. The first of which is exemplary rule knowledge. So as a young official, get yourself in that rule book, understand the rules of the games you officiate or the leagues you officiate, whether it's USA hockey rules, college rules. Don't take for granted rule knowledge. So rule knowledge on an exemplary level is the first and foremost. The second area is an excellent communicator. You have to be able to diffuse situations with players, coaches, as Jeff mentioned, know when to get involved and when to stay away and how to diffuse those situations. You have to know how to communicate and extract information from the crew that you're working with. So communication skills present at a very high level for me, and those are very noticeable in a game that you work. Thirdly, being able to handle big moments that present into a game. And I'm sure all of you who are on the cast tonight have experienced a big moment in a game, and you're either going to be successful if you resolve that issue on the ice, or it's going to blow up and you're going to hopefully learn by it going forward. So those are things that stand out. Also, at the grassroots level, mastering the fundamentals and basics and mechanics of positioning, know where to go, know where you shouldn't go. Understand that in the games that you work, positioning and understanding positioning and mechanics is so very important, because if you're not in the right place positionally, you're not going to be able to see the play comprehensively, and you're either going to miss it and then create a problem for you on the ice, or you're going to guess. And if you guess and you guess wrong, you're going to get crap for it because you made the wrong decision. So mastering those fundamentals and basics, so it becomes instinctive. When you're reacting, where do I need to go if the puck comes here? Where do I need to go if the puck's at the net? Understanding movement and all those things associated with fundamentals and mechanics, and being able to execute it instinctively rather than reactively is going to help you with decision making. Because if you have to take the time to think about where you're going to go, at the Division I level, the play's probably already gone, and now there's a guy laying on the ice because you missed the penalty, or you're going to miss a line call. So those things are really, really important. And also, trying to put yourself in a situation where you're becoming a student in the game. If you aspire for high levels and you want to get noticed, just like players do, you got to become a student of the game. Understand the full dynamics of the game and how the sport is played from a player perspective, and translate that onto the ice as an official. So those are a few of, again, my principal things, Scott. So I hope that helps.
No, it does. And I think the amazing thing, and I'm going to say this now and not save it for the end, but so we've been doing this for 20 weeks, and here we're talking about college hockey, which is an extremely high level, whether it's men's, women's, Division III, Division I. It's a very high level of hockey. And what you all are saying is the exact same thing we say at every level. There is no secret sauce. If you can't skate, if you're not a good enough skater at the the Tier 1 14U level, you're not going to be a successful official. If you can't skate at the Division III level, you're not going to be successful if you don't have those things. And I think that's really important. So I'm actually going to throw this to Alicia, and then I'll have Jeff and Pi jump in. But you're on the ice, but you're also an extremely experienced official, Alicia. And when you're working games with a younger or newer official, what areas do you think they struggle in the most? Like, what's the challenge that a new official has that you would notice, now as more of a veteran official?
Majority of the kids, it's new territory for them out there. They're unsure of themselves. A combination of, they don't want to get yelled at. If I'm dealing with, say, a 15-year-old, and this is their first couple times skating. maybe they didn't play hockey, so they just, their dad's a referee and they wanted to get involved. So maybe their skating wasn't the greatest or something, but I'd have to say most of it would be confidence. So I try to talk them and build them up on the confidence and say, hey, we all start somewhere. You didn't know how to ride the bike, when you first got on it. So we all have to learn. We all have to get better and practice. And this will come to you. Experience will help you. So probably what I guess stands out the most would be their confidence. And I just tried to help them along with that.
No, perfect. And Jeff and Steve, for you guys, when you have new officials, jump in in your conferences, what are they struggling with? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, from my level, Scott, I think it's more around communication. I think that, we're trying to recruit from the junior leagues and where they've got exposure to a little bit of junior hockey. At this level within college hockey, we're looking for, and I'll call it professional communication. And that professional communication is between the coaches, the players, and we expect it, we don't expect them to over communicate, but when they do communicate, we want to make sure it's a professional level. And I think a lot of times we're dealing more with what's said on the ice than what's being done on the ice in a play. So I think that's where, and it's funny because I've got a lot of officials that come out of USA Hockey and have been to the Olympics, and they'll all tell me the same thing. I ask them what the biggest difference is, and they say the communication with the coaches and with the players is much different than any other level that they've worked. So I think from my standpoint, that's probably the biggest point of growth for our new officials coming into the NCAA.
And Pi?
Yeah, I would say probably for the officials that I see that are new, it's kind of an adjustment period. So it's the reactive time. So the reactive time that's lacking is impactful of their decision making. So they're late to a call or they're late to a line. They don't realize how quickly speed of the game comes upon them, and therefore that adjustment and reaction time has to improve. I think confidence, as Alicia mentioned, confidence is certainly a factor, and especially if you're, I try to assign when I assign games, I assign officials with a more experienced guy, and getting that new official comfortable with the fact that, if they are a referee and they're working with an experienced referee, they have to make decisions and judgment independent in many cases of that experienced referee. So sometimes they come into that with a little bit of intimidation, and the intimidation, hey, I don't want to make that call in front of that official, or I'm going to let that mentor bail me out. So getting involved in the mix and getting involved in the heat of the moment, kind of throwing guys to the wolves and see how they react is important. But, environmentally, it can be a very intimidating situation when you have a Division I coach that's questioning a call, how you communicate your decision making and not to say too much or too little, and taking control of those situations can also be a struggle for a younger official, because half the battle, I do believe this, with officiating a high level is credibility and acceptability. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So if I'm in my more experienced days when I was on the ice, I would assess my performance, and I might have a terrible, what I felt personally, a terrible night on the ice. Not, maybe I wasn't reacting fast enough. My position might have been off, and coaches would come off the ice and they would say, hey, great job, Pi. That happened because of acceptability and credibility. That same guy, same official or same referee that might be more experienced, the guy might have a flawless performance, but coaches are trying to intimidate, and the poor guy is doing a great job, and yet because he doesn't have that credibility and that acceptability yet, which takes time and patience, those are things for that guy to battle through and deal with it. But that makes you tougher, that makes you more resilient, gives you broader shoulders, and it takes you a lot farther. But patience is a key in officiating a high level. Things don't come quickly, and if they do come quickly, embrace it. But because it's a process. It's a process that patients will only be in hard work. There's nothing like hard work that's going to put you in front of the forefront of getting selected for any level of hockey.
That's perfect. So Pi, for all of your games, we had a question from Brian out in the audience. What system are you using? Are all at the Division I level? Is it all on the men's side? Is it all 4 officials?
Yeah, so two referee, 2 linesmen, correct.
Okay. And how long has it been that way, do you think now?
Oh, geez. It's got to be probably 12, 14 years or so that we've used that.
Okay.
That system, yeah.
Okay. And Jeff, how about for you at the Division III level? What system are you using for officiating?
So for all the men's leagues, we're using a 4-man system. For the women's league, with the exception, we have 2 women's leagues that are still utilizing the 2 referee, 1 linesman system. So for the most part, and we're expecting that to all move over to a 4-person system next year once we reconvene. So right now there's just 2 outsiders that are using the 2 and 1, and everybody else is using the 2 and 2. Got
it. And Alicia, in the hockey, the women's college hockey, you're working 4 official systems, 2 referee, 1 linesman. What all systems are being used on the women's side?
For WCHA, yes, it's the 4-person system, 2 refs, 2 linesmen. The Minnesota MIAC Division III, we work the 4-person system, and then MIAC, the Wisconsin side, it's the 2-1 system.
2 referees and 1 linesman system.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Now, do you know for the whether it's Hockey East women's or the ECAC women's, are those also 4 officials? Do you know that, or any of?
I don't know that. Maybe Jeff can answer that.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yep.
All Division I women and men are 4-person.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And so Alicia, for you, when you're getting ready for a season or during the season, whether it's the WCHA or the Minnesota or Wisconsin Division III conferences, are you taking rules tests? Are there any rules tests that you have to take? Pi talked about knowing the rule book, so do they?
So yes, we do take, because I am involved in Division I and Division III, fortunately, I just have to take 1 NCAA test.
Okay. Do you actually have to pass, or is it just an exercise?
No, you have to pass.
Yeah.
You have to pass.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And Jeff, how about for all of your conferences? What are you expecting out of your officials other than expecting that they know the rules, testing them on this?
Yeah, I mean, Pi and I were involved in, it's a 2-year rule cycle, and this was a rule change year. So we have 1 NCAA test that gets distributed to all the officials through our arbiter. So all the officials are required to take that test. It's a multiple choice for the most part test, and it does allow you to use an open book to do that. But yeah, all the NCAA officials are required. And without passing, so our rules with us, if you don't pass and there was a background check that's also involved, then you're not eligible to work the playoffs or the NCAA. So part of the requirements is passing that test and making an online or making a seminar early in the season, one of our training camps with one of our leagues.
But
the test is 85%, Scott, success.
Yeah. Got it. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that much like Pi, Jeff, if they're not demonstrating a really good knowledge of the rule book, they're probably going to find they're not working a whole lot of hockey games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, there's no excuse for not knowing the rule book, and we make that clear right from the onset.
Yeah, and so Steve, tell us, you just a long time working intimately within the rule book as the secretary editor and whatnot. So talk to us a little bit about the rule book. Jeff mentioned there's a 2-year cycle, but what are the goals and aims of the rule book? Are they different than USA Hockey's? What are you trying to accomplish with those rules, and how are rules changed and all of that stuff?
Yeah, before I tackle that question, and I will answer it, but can you mind if I digress a second on positioning in systems.
100%.
So probably, and there could be, I'm really not sure the mix of participants that are on the cast tonight, but understand that because college hockey works a two referee, two linesman system, that the core system that's born out of two officials, which is taking place in most youth hockey games for the most part until you hit a certain level, out of that system, really think about the positioning and drill down on that. How in a two referee system, how you work the goal line and how you work the net is the same as you would work if you were a two referee and two linesman system. How you exit the zone, how you support each other. So many of the mechanics that are ingrained in the two referee system can translate very well to a two referee, two linesman system with four officials. So understand that, what you're doing now to prepare yourself for the future is not for naught. It's, you're going to build on that mechanic that you're mastering. So sorry for the digression. I just wanted to mention that. And I think that's really important. And secondly, to your point, yes, college hockey, 2-year rule cycle. And within that 2-year time, the current rules are being evaluated. So there either can be additions to the current rules. There could be removal from the current rules, all in an effort to ensure that the game is in a good spot from a safety perspective, which is probably one of the foremost really philosophies that any rules book, whether it's USA Hockey, International Hockey, NHL, player safety, protecting the players and their safety on the ice from egregious and illegal play, whether it's contact to the head, hitting from behind, et cetera, et cetera. And then allowing the skilled players to play the game. In this great game where there's skill and speed that's so very, very important, allow those players to execute. So it's not minimizing the speed and skill of the players by creating incentives to illegally, whether it's restraining fouls or holding, hooking. That's why we're trying to eradicate those from the game. So those are principally two of the philosophies of the NCAA rulebook, which I think is in close proximity to what USA Hockey and other high levels hockey are looking to achieve through new rule development, in ensuring that officials are enforcing the rules properly, but the coaches, the players, and the administrators are supporting the decisions that are made based upon the adjudication of the rules properly. Because as coordinators, as supervisors of officials, we can defend judgment if coaches question judgment. I can argue with a coach or have a robust discussion with a coach about a trip, but what I cannot defend is a misinterpretation of a rule. There's no defense of that, as our officials need to know those rules. That's why principally I mentioned that as one of the four most important things.
No, once again, we go back to there's no secret sauce, know the rule book, be a good athlete, be a good skater, be in good position. All of those things are going to help. I think here as we're getting closer to the top of the hour, and we've had some really good questions, and I want to ask a couple of them here. If an official is willing to travel and they're outside footprint, because we had a number of officials talking, or a number of our audience here talk about, I'm not close to teams. How can that official get involved in the NCAA? Is there any travel budget or anything like that at the Division III level or on the women's side, and then also at the Division I level for somebody that might be in a place like Florida that's outside the footprint? So I'll kind of go to the group and, you guys, answer away.
All right, go ahead with Division I if you want.
Yeah, sure. From a Division I perspective, fortunately, with the exception of this year because of COVID, our budget, we're going to try to put the best officials on the ice, regardless of geographics. So I have officials that live in the East. I have officials that live in the Midwest. And what I try to do from my available officiating pool is just strategically select officials that live in proximity to our footprint. Now, that doesn't go without speaking. As I mentioned, I have officials that live in Boston that travel into games. So we fly officials in, whether you're a linesman or a referee. We're looking at, again, the exception is this year because of COVID. We're looking at trying to be responsible as possible because of budgets that are involved. But if there's an official that lives in the South or official that lives in the West somewhere that is available, that is flexible, and we can notice them and they can get noticed, we'll consider getting them involved. So I know there's an official, I think, that mentioned that he lived in Florida and they have they have ACHA but no NCAA. For that individual, it's important for him or her to get involved with as much high-level hockey as available to them if they're willing to travel to get to that hockey, to prepare them further for the opportunity to get considered for Division I officiating.
Yeah. Jeff, how about at the Division III level?
Yeah, so unfortunately, Scott, I mean, we have some very stringent budgetary restraints from a Division III level. So, the rates aren't as high as Division I. The mileage is based on a max of mileage. There's no hotel expense allowed. So from our standpoint, we do have the ability to, say, travel a crew from Maine to Western New York to work a crew and vice versa, but we try to work them and work two crews in or 2 games within 2 days to do that. But the constraints are very difficult for us at our level. And you can imagine with the COVID situation and the budget cuts with our schools right now, we don't see it getting any better until we're past this COVID situation.
Yeah. And Alicia, like in the WCHA, are they are most of the officials working on the women's side within the footprint of the league, or is there some travel for some of the females?
There is some travel because of we drive basically everywhere but Ohio State. That is a very long drive, so that's the only school we will fly to. We do have a couple locals in Ohio that WCHA has used, but other than that, budget's definitely a dictator. And so WCHA tries to have locals around each school, and we do most of our driving. Mostly the referees will drive, and then he just tries to have more local linesmen. Yeah.
So really, what I'm hearing to kind of answer that question is the only place where your location isn't as important is at the Division I level on the men's side. Otherwise, unfortunately, in college hockey, you almost have to be in the footprint to a certain extent to get those opportunities. Quick question. What if we have somebody in our audience that's interested in potentially, they don't want to be on the ice, but they'd like to help out as an off-ice official, as a minor official. Do those run through the schools? Do those run through the conferences? How does somebody get involved helping out in an off-ice capacity?
I'll take that to start, but oftentimes it definitely starts at the campus level. So my suggestion is to contact the venue and the university game management people that are associated with that particular venue. In other words, if it's in Minnesota, in the contact, there is a person at the university level that's responsible for game management at Mariucci or 3M Arena now. Having prior officiating background certainly is very helpful. Those guys welcome the opportunity. And there's not a lot of transition in many cases for those individuals. These are guys that have been doing this for a year, but they're also always looking for people that can create the succession planning, because if someone's ill, they can fill in, and getting your foot in the door certainly would start at contacting at the university level.
Perfect. And Jeff, if we've got somebody, they want to get involved with college hockey, they're an official, they want that opportunity, what's the best way to get that opportunity, especially to get your foot in the door at say the Division III level? What's the best way that official can go about it?
So, I mean, there's a couple situations. You can go on the NCAA site and there's a referral. The other option would be, you know, to send me an email or contact me. I'd be happy to, based on the location, to get that official aligned with the supervisor for that league within his footprint. So either or works. I'd be happy to help anybody who's interested in moving into NCAA ice hockey.
Perfect. So I guess, you know, like I said, as we're coming to the top of the hour here, and before we wrap up, you know, I'll throw this out to the three of you. You know, what else should our viewers know? What other message do you want to deliver about college hockey? I think we've talked about, you know, kind of the basics, what you're looking for, how you might get involved, but what haven't we said that we should say to our audience?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to say is certainly I'm not sure what the aspirations are of those that are in the cast and the audience, but if you aspire to be a pro official, there's a path and a purpose for that. And if you come to the end of the line of chasing your dream and it's not going to happen, and you've got all this training behind you, certainly I'm going to give you lots of credit, Scott, for the ODP program and making sure that, you know, gaining those experiences at the next level beyond midget and bantam hockey is to really look at the ODP program, to get your arms around working potentially in the North American Junior League and the USAH. You will get noticed for certain there. As I mentioned to you, I think in my earlier remarks, that probably high 90% of all the officials that I recruit come from the ODP program that Scott's responsible. So I got to give you tons of credit, Scotty, for preparing those folks. But beyond that, don't give up on chasing your dream and be patient, because you'll get noticed. And getting noticed comes from you know, connection with your local supervisors of officials, someone that helps you in your state that can connect you to Scott. Scott you'll be found. If you're a good official and you aspire, we'll find you. Your dedication and commitment will carry you forward.
Well, that's great. Jeff, how about, you know, what else can you add?
Well, I mean, along the same lines, I mean, I think we're both saying the same thing here, but just keep working games, you know, make realistic goals for yourself for the future. So a second year official, you know, if you're just getting new to officiating, maybe getting to the NHL may not be a realistic goal, but the job comes with experience. Build off the situations you encounter, and that's going to happen through mites, through juniors, and learn from those. I mean, the key to this job is not to make the same mistake twice, and to learn from your mistakes. And mistakes are going to happen. I mean, it happens every day, but the key is to learn from them. So there is an abundance of opportunity in officiating, and I think we talked about it. We're all fishing from the same pond. But, you know, just keep it up, and we're here to help. And, you know, like I said, there's a lot of opportunities, so make the most of it. And it's a step-by-step process to get here. So I think that's the message we want to convey.
Awesome. Alicia, any parting comments or anything you want to add to what Jeff and Pi have said?
Kind of mirrored what they said. Skate hard each and every time. You don't know who is in the building. Like Pi said, if you're good, you'll get noticed. Your name will come up. You'll get on somebody's radar. But again, just work hard each and every time, every level, whatever that level is. And we'll stay humble and be patient. Hard work will pay off. And good luck.
I love it. I think, you know, as a group, the three of you have all delivered very similar messages to what our regular viewers might hear on a regular basis. And it's just fantastic. So, you know, as we do get to the top of the hour here, I want to thank Pi and Jeff and Alicia again for their time, taking time out of their lives tonight. To join us and help educate us a little bit more about college hockey. Certainly want to thank all of you out in the audience for joining us this evening. And then as we look forward to the coming weeks. Next Tuesday night is election night in America, and that means it will not be Zoomcast night in America. So we're taking next Tuesday off. The little PSA here is if you haven't voted, go vote. So I'll say that. Doesn't matter who you vote for. It's a great right. And I know Jeff and Steve and Alicia and I have all been involved internationally, and there's a lot of officials around the world that we come in contact with that don't have that opportunity. So we're taking next Tuesday off. On November 10th, we're going to have another USA Hockey program update. We'll have some leadership from USA Hockey's officiating program to kind of talk about where things stand. Obviously, it's a different and challenging kind of year. So we're going to have that, and then on November 17th, we're going to be talking about instructor training. The instructor training program. Certainly seminar instructors are a key component of our education program. And so we're going to cover some of that. So thank you again to everyone. On behalf of Alicia, Jeff, and Steve, I'm Scott Zelkin. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye for now.